Guys, we are talking all about fire damaged properties. You don't know anything about it and explain it to you. And I'm going to break it down to the bare essentials because, to be honest with you, I avoided these things for a long time. You hear the word fire, you just assume the whole property is burnt down. So we're going to break it down. What is fire damaged properties? It's literally exactly what it says. It's a property. Here's the real secret with fire damaged property. You guys have this visual picture of a house burnt down in your head. That was my theory what a fire damaged property. A fire damaged property is when the fire department is called to assist in putting out a fire. That's it. That's the qualifier. Sometimes they're tiny little fires. Sometimes they're monstrous fires. And once you understand that, you'll get a better vision of it. Now, I'm here to tell you, let me kind of walk. Now, I'm not a fireman. And God, if there's a fireman on this live, please tune in because I'll put you front and center. I love firemen. A lot of my friends are firefighters. Some of the best wholesalers I know across the country are firefighters because they can do that job and do wholesaling. So a little tip for you. But nevertheless, a fire damaged property is where do most fires start? So I've been on this earth long enough. I can tell you where I've started most of my fires. I've almost burnt my kitchen down twice. Now, to be honest with you, she's not in the studio. My wife she's started quite a few fires. So I love her to death, but she was a very poor cook when we first got together. So I hope she's not watching this. It's the truth though. You start a grease fire in a pan. You throw water, you panic, it goes everywhere, and then your reaction is to call 911. Honestly, that's about 75% of the calls. And when you get there, they put out the fire. Half the kitchen's a little bit ruined, it's burnt. The other one are toaster ovens, huge one. People stick stuff in there all the time, and microwaves. People love to put I don't know, we've just gotten so dumb in America. We stick anything in there, aluminum foil, and wonder why stuff catches on fire. So, starts in the kitchen. I've bought a lot of fire damage properties where I've either had to replace the kitchen or I've done a mild rehab on it, like really simple stuff. Guys, that's a fire damaged properties. You guys keep thinking about these properties that burnt down. Do they get worse? Yes, they do. But for the most part, a lot of fire damaged properties, when you pull up to them, you're kind of in shock because they look like perfect houses on the inside. So what we have to distinguish is between small little fires, medium damage, and massive ones. And that's how I'm going to kind of walk you through this process so you can understand. Now, as a beginner, you can do any of the properties. The first one is by far the easiest. The last one takes a little bit of experience. I'm going to walk you through on how to do that. Remember, guys, I'm trying to get through this so I can get to the lives as fast as possible. The first thing we have to do is you got to pull the list. And you guys know how these government lists work. Now, this one is not at your county courthouse. You simply go to your fire department. And one of the best things you do is go in person. Now, if you're going to go in person, I'm telling you this right now, do not run a firefighter over or I'm going to have a beef with you. Listen, these people do jobs that most of us don't want to do. And number two, most of us couldn't do if we wanted to do. Now, I would be a reckless firefighter. I know that, but that's why I don't do it. So I love these people to death because they are much, much needed resources. So don't do your typical aggressive, I need this list, I'm going to run you over. Be really nice. They are people in your community. They're people I do a lot of fishing with, and there's some of the best people to help your rehabs houses. I get referrals from them. I love firefighters. So you have to go in with the biggest, kindest heart when you ask for this list. And then just ask nicely. If fire goes, I don't know how to get it, you'll have to talk to my chief battalion. That's what I did. And then he sat down, why do you need this list and stuff like that? And I just sat down and I tell the truth. I'm looking to help the homeowners whose house is caught on fire in the event they want to sell it, to give them a very, fair offer. How can I get access to this list? Now, the list is public. The challenge is these privacy policies. So what do I tell you guys? I'm going to use the same rules as I do any other government list. To overcome resistance, you got to beat it with persistence. And with firefighters, you have to add the extra super nice part on it because you can't run people over. And they're really cool. In my area, I have 4 different fire departments I get these lists from, 4. And this is where if you bring in some donuts or you bring in some takeout food or something like that, you will get like super receptive people. Now, sometimes they're going to tell you got to go up to the city level to get that information. Guys, you know how this works. Just please, with the firefighters, do not try to run them over. It's a brutal job what they do, and I don't want you guys to be super aggressive with them. So some of you are going to get the list. Some of you aren't going to get the list. Welcome to my world. That's how wholesaling works. If I try to access 5 lists and I get 2 or 3 of them, I'm happy, and then I try to find ways to get those last 2 lists over time. So pulling the fire damage property, it's very simple, guys. Just the fire department. Now, You'll do better in person than you do on the phone. But if you're virtual, you're kind of stuck and you're going to have to nicely use your rapport for damaged properties. So we're assuming you have the list. So now the next thing is, how do I market to them? And I'm just going to be really quick with this because it doesn't change in any other style of wholesaling. Number one, cold calling is by far going to be your best. And the really cool part is these lists aren't thousands of people. They're small. Dude, they're brutally small. It's a very, very short list. Just get on your phone, get on truepeoplesearch.com, find their phone number and call them. You don't need a mojo dialer. You don't need any of that fancy stuff. Just call people. And it's really not hard, guys. And they go, well, you know, their house burnt down. You don't know what the damage is because when you get these reports, I've only had one county where they actually tell me what the estimated damage was, and that's from the fire department, and most of them don't. So you'd be calling a house that's just no longer there, or you'd be calling a house that had a little bit of a kitchen fire. Don't judge. Remember, where there's smoke, there's fire. It couldn't be any more true than in fire damaged property. So cold calling is number one. It's a simple skip trace. I wouldn't even spend any money. It's very simple. Now, you can do an SMS campaign. They're not my favorite way to do it because it's very informal, but it still does work. And it's such a small list. Here's the beauty is you can do the text campaign from like your own phone, or if you have like a dedicated phone to your business. I would try to avoid those mass text services when you do fire damage because it's probably not going to get through. And then you could customize each message, and I would rotate every other message so it doesn't look like you're spamming. It's really simple. The third one is reverse driving for dollars. And you might think I'm crazy saying that. Remember in the beginning, I told you a lot of the fires are small and contained within inside the house and you can't tell from the outside. That is a perfect one for reverse driving for dollars. Stick a sticky on the door and go from there. Now, if the house is burnt down, you can't stick a note on the door because there's no door or the door is completely black. So you'll have to make that judgment call. But honestly, when I do fire damage properties, if I had 15 on there, only 1 or 2 are ever charred to the bone, and that's it. Most people will sit on fire damage properties for years, guys, years. Because why? They're trying to figure out how to sort the insurance claim, how to settle the mortgage, and how to work with all the lawyers that are involved into it. So very simple, guys. Cold calling, SMS, reverse driving for dollars. That's really the only way you can do direct mail. But like, honestly, if nobody's home or the house is burned down, that's kind of a waste. And it's such a small list. It's just not really effective. So here's the one where most of you are going to be challenged with it. How do I make an offer on a fire damaged property? And I'm here to tell you, there's no perfect way to do it. But the biggest challenge I see most wholesalers, especially newer ones, is you guys struggle with trying to figure out what repairs are. So think of the fire damage part as basically your repairs. It's that simple. Here's the best part of it. Most of you have to guess what the rehab is. You know, the kitchen's 10 grand, flooring's 5 grand, the roof's 15, 20 grand. Here's a little secret of fire damage properties. There's almost always an insurance claim made, and the homeowner has an insurance representative come out and they do a very, very thorough estimate. And I'm here to tell you, it's probably the easiest way to figure out what the damage on the property is. Meaning is you don't have to guess. They're very, very, very precise on these numbers. And so if the homeowner has an insurance report for $52,000, that's what your repairs are needed on the house. Round it up, call it 60, and whatever you do. From there, since you're not guessing on the number, you know what the real value is on it. You just take that by your multiplier to come out to your maxable allowable offer. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you it's 70% because I told you to throw that out the window. If you have a buyer that will pay more than what you put under contract for you, that's your number. On the smaller ones, they're easy, guys. It's just like a regular rehab, although you get a cheat sheet with the estimated damages, okay? If it's medium, it's a little bit more. And if it's massive, it's an entire, you almost have to basically replace the house. We're going to get into that. I'm here to tell you guys, if you're scared of making offers on fire damage, just make sure you get the insurance estimate, okay? A lot of them, you'll get the fire department estimate, just like a police officer. If you're in a car crash, they're going to estimate the damage of your car. Now, I'm here to tell you, it's really hard to estimate the damage of the car because if you wreck a Bentley as opposed to a Honda Civic, it's like night and day. And most officers aren't qualified. They're just going to throw a number on there and then the insurance takes it from there. So I love the fact that I get a insurance estimate, and the insurance company, they want it close as they can to the penny. So I find it actually pretty accurate, and it actually makes my job a heck of a lot easier. So the reality is a lot of us are guessing on rehab costs, and I'm telling you, in fire damage properties, you don't have to do this much. So now that you know how to make your offer, who's going to buy these dang things? And so I see in the comments, some of you guys are struggling to sell these. Rule number one applies. If you don't get it under contract for the right price, you will struggle to sell it like any other overpriced wholesale deal. It's no different for fire damage. You can't just take like a wild stab at it. So here's how it goes. If I have a small fire, I treat them just like a regular rehab. If it needs 10 grand, it needs a new kitchen, and there's nothing structurally wrong, it didn't get into the trusses, the roof's still intact, and the property signed off. What they do is they just gut that whole kitchen down to the studs, and you will get some professional assistance, and they're going to make sure that that property, all the smoke and everything's been cured from the ceiling all the way down to the floors. Now, you're never going to do it yourself. I don't want you to do that. Those properties, guys, they're really easy, in my opinion. And most homeowners, if they decide to give up on the house, it means they don't trust the house, they're scared of it, and that's where you're solving a problem, and those are really easy. Now, let's move on to the medium one. So on that first one, every option's in play. Everything. Assignment of contract, you have an insurance estimate, you can really make your cash buyers feel comfortable, and it's no problem. And a lot of regular buyers will still buy these properties because they see the opportunity in the discount, and you can actually wholesale the property. You can break the kitchen down to the studs, do a wholesale, sell the vision to another cash buyer, whatever you want to do. The sky's the limit. You can do anything. You can do regular assignments. Now, when you get to the medium damage, say 25 to 75, you're going to have to find a different type of buyer. The average cash buyer cannot deal with those types of properties. It takes a specialty skill set. Now, here's the secret is, it's not your skill set. Your job is just to locate the properties, put a contract together at a discounted price, and then go find a cash buyer. The challenge with these is you need to find people that love to buy burnt properties, like significant. And there's a certain amount of buyers that get excited. I'll be honest with you, it is a smaller buyer pool. It takes longer to sell, but when you put that deal together, your profit level is usually very, very good, because guys, once you get to medium to heavy damage, you have to have a significant profit level to make it work. So go in the eyes of the homeowner. I just had a major fire in my house. The insurance is going to give me $100K. So what you can do is sit there. You have to negotiate what the ARV on it. You know, it's got $100,000 of damage. You're going to have to price in a healthy fee to make it work for you. And here's the cool part is you're going to get a lot more time to sell these properties. It takes work. I promise you, most of your cash buyers list are not customized for these extended fire damage properties, and mostly contractors buy them and specialty rehabbers that love to do these. Now, here's the catch. They all want a big discount because they're solving a big problem. So if you don't get a big discount, you are going to struggle selling it. If you think you're just going to take 100 grand off that, you're going to get killed. So the more damage, the more significant of a discount you have to ask for. Why? Because your cash buyer is going to demand it. So when you get one, it's like, so let's go to the extreme one. The house is burnt to the ground. What do I do? Well, it's kind of easy. You just have raw land value. Hopefully the homeowner gets the full value of the house replaced. And now you can just go back and sell it to a spec builder, a private builder, and there's still going to be an estimate to demo the house, and you don't have to calculate that number. It can be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, but it's probably a prime piece of property in a already established neighborhood. There is real value there, and you're going to sell that usually to I'm not a big fan of developers at all, especially on like single lots like this. Find someone who wants to build a dream home there, and they go, I've been priced out of everything in the market. This sounds like great. Here's the key though. It's going to take some time because the property's got to be certified. It's got to be demoed. And that's a whole different type of buyer. But that type of buyer, they can look past it because they're going to build a brand new house on there. And so you can go back just as if you were selling vacant land or anything like that. They just got to understand what they're getting into. And that's it, guys. I find the middle one the hardest, the one that's got heavy damage in the middle, because a regular cash buyer is scared to death of it and it's not ready for demo. So it takes a very special skill set. I've seen them where the trusses are burnt to crisp. They have to pull the whole roof off. There's a lot that has to be done on them. And so guys, if you're not getting big discounts on them, it means you're going to struggle to sell them to your property, your fire damage property cash buyers list, because they're going to demand huge discounts from you. Now, I see a lot of you guys in the comments that go, listen, I'm really struggling, Rick, to sell this. Go back and get a discount. Let the property go do whatever you got to do. These, you can't just get a slight discount on a deeply fire damaged property, because although the homeowner gets made whole, which is the really cool part, somebody has to do the work. If you're going to put all this together and take a ton of your time and energy, you have to make a profit on it. Guys, I don't make $3,000 to $5,000 on fire damage properties. It's just not. Now, on the little ones, sure, why not? But the medium, there's no way, guys. I mean, the average profit level should be 30 to 50 grand. because it is a lot of transactions to put together. And you're going to find your skill set. Not only do you have to locate that type of distressed seller, you got to go find a fire damage property buyer for cash that has experience in there. And by the way, if they've never bought a fire damage property and it's got significant, you're literally wasting your time. They'll never go through with it. They'll write so many conditions and inspections. Move on. You do not want that type of buyer.